Here's your question.
Yeah.
What happens if, let's say, a company lose $300 million?
Have you met the supreme leader
Of which country?
of North?
Hi, welcome to Mission Ignite. Here, we uncover the no bullshit stories from successful individuals and ignite your dreams to success.
So today's guest has a journey that sounds like 3 biographies squeezed into one lifetime. She built a tech company that was headed straight for a $300 million IPO until the dot-com crash flipped the script and forced her to liquidate it instead. Most people would disappear after that, but she didn't. She chose the wildest plot twist possible. She went to work in North Korea.
From surviving the dot-com collapse to navigating one of the world's most closed-off environments, she rebuilt her philosophy, her identity, and her mission. Fast forward, she's now a growth strategist, a family business whisperer, and a mindset architect, shaping the next-gen leaders across Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar. So please welcome the strategist who will turn setbacks into a superpower, Dr. Ramesh!
Thank you for the warm welcome, both of you.
Well, thank you very much for being our guest here.
Yes.
That said, do introduce yourself to our viewers out there.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Ramesh Ramachandra, and people call me Ramesh. And I am a founder of a company called Talent Leadership Crucible. We work on corporate culture change work. And I'm also a co-founder of another organization called Impact Velocity. I'm an angel investor. I run a podcast. I author some books. Well, I'm a little bit busy. I guess I could say that.
So just curious, right? You're not a doctor that can give MC, right?
No. Did you want one?
Oh, what a waste.
Yeah. So you're a doctorate in...
Yeah. So I did my doctorate at Singapore Management University, and it was a innovation doctorate in innovation, and I focused on family business and innovation.
Right.
Oh, so how long ago was that?
I completed it in 2019, but I was in the first cohort when they introduced this doctorate study, and that was in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
2015 or 2016.
3-year run. Or...
Yeah, typically people take about 4 to 5 years. In fact, there's a penalty if you go beyond 5 years, then you have to pay add-on fees.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, because they want you to complete it on time.
Right.
Because, after you do the first 12 modules, which is like you go into a classroom and you get an overview of key topics, the rest is, your own pace.
Right.
You find a professor who's going to take you through your dissertation, and then you find a topic that you want to research. And then, some people are very motivated. They get it done very quickly, and some people don't. And I guess the person who took the shortest time in my class was 2.5 years.
Okay.
Wow,
Okay.
that's really, really, really fast.
Yes, yes.
So why that particular subject? Innovation and...
Right. So typically innovation actually falls under business administration, a doctorate in business administration. But I was, growing up, and also the work that I do, I've always been curious about the intersection of creativity, which is having a new and unique idea. Then innovation is actually the implementation of that creative idea. And entrepreneurship is the monetization of that idea, right?
Okay.
So they all sort of come together. And it was the first time that Singapore was going to offer, any of the universities was going to offer a DBA in innovation.
Okay.
And so I thought I'll join that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious, those gentlemen mentioned that you are holding 2 companies now.
Yes.
A podcast, right, and multiple books, right? So let's go part by part.
Okay.
Right? Let's talk about your companies first.
Okay.
Right. So what are they? What do you do? Because I heard angel investors, right? And of course that linked up many of our viewers out there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you do in those companies?
Okay, as an angel investor?
Also, one by one.
Okay,
I
one
mean,
by
we
one.
can-
Okay.
Yes.
So my company, Talent Leadership Crucible, in short, we call it TLC, Tender Loving
Loving
Care,
Care.
right? It's a company which started off to look at how we can empower companies to elevate their performance. And how we do that is that we work on people's mindset, becoming more productive as a result.
Right.
And yes, you can.
Yeah.
So, because if you look at the whole people potential space, what you can see is that, typically we're using only about 1% to 2% of our brain power. So the point is, if we know how to unleash that potential, then perhaps we can be a lot more productive. And all the productivity that we have seen in the world in the last 100 years has been driven by technology, not by human power, right?
Yeah.
Human potential. So what we do typically is shifting paradigms or mindset change. And then once people have done that and they are ready and open, the companies who work with us, they are ambitious. They want to go into new markets, new product innovation, or they are just doing succession planning. And it doesn't happen overnight. Right. You've got to get all your people to go in one direction. So we then do the next part, which is a visioning process, whereby we get the key stakeholders together and they co-create a vision or a future. And then once we're done with that process, we then look at what should be the key milestone, that tells us we are on track. And then they'll say, okay, we want X, Y, Z. And then we work backwards and we launch into quarterly OKRs and KPIs to, support them to move forward in that direction.
So, check with you. I'm curious because I think what I'm hearing sounds like very big, visionary kind of a thing. And usually that only happens, or rather, that's what most people perceive, right? That only happens in big companies.
Yes.
But is that applicable to small companies, startups as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, at the end of the day, it's all about building a culture and building a culture for accountability and performance. And if you can do that and you have the means to do that, then, it's very enduring for a startup because people will come and go. And you have ups and downs, but your culture is also strong. And then you can navigate the crisis that you will experience. So we do some of this work with startups as well. And but it starts with the most senior person in the organization. We never do this work bottom up. It's always top down.
So in your experience,
Yes.
at which stage of the company should look for you at the best? That means, should it be, if you say you're a startup, actually this is the best time, or it should be
Scale
3 or
up
4 years,
or-
scale up?
Actually, it doesn't matter. It depends very much on the founder or the people who are running the business, their own, what would I say, their own self-awareness.
That they're ready to go to the next level.
Yes, that they
Yeah.
can see that, to move the company's performance, they've got to move the people, and the people have to go together.
Right.
And when that awareness is there for a leader, they will invest in this.
Right. Yeah. So to all you founders out there, right, CEOs, general managers, right, investors out there, if you need to go to the next level,
Yeah,
there she
look for
is.
Dr.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
Dr. Ramesh. Yeah. And what about the other companies?
Right. So Impact Velocity is a company that was founded in 2022. It is actually, the inspiration behind that was from a client that we're working with in Vietnam. It's a family-owned business. And the next gen, 3 sons in the business, looked at a 30-year shared future, 2050. And they said that, their commitment for that future was all about having the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps were people's inner development, planet renewal, and progress sharing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like, first of all, as a family business, they were not just interested in making money for themselves. It was more like, how can I impact my community, my country, my world, right? And so then we said, okay, so this is really a big goal. How are we going to measure this? So we decided to set up a company in Singapore, which would hopefully transition to becoming a foundation.
Okay.
And then it's to start to measure these things. So we've had like 1,000 people do the people's inner development work.
Wow.
Then we're tracking.
So guys, if you hear the statement problem, congratulations, that's an opportunity for you. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. You also mentioned that you had a podcast as well.
Yes.
What do you do in those podcasts?
Oh, okay. So I've got 2 podcasts. The first one started in 2021, December, and it's called Thriving in the Age of Disruption. So, I'm someone who's been very passionate about entrepreneurship, especially the entrepreneurial mindset. And it was during COVID pandemic. And I thought, why don't I leverage on my extensive network, ask them to come on and, just share how do they look at the entrepreneurial mindset. Maybe now I'll flip the question back to both of you, right? So I say that entrepreneurial mindset is about being resourceful, managing risk, managing uncertainty and taking risks. And the third thing is creating value. And this mindset can be applied in any situation. You don't have to go and start and run a business.
Yes.
Now, I also say that the entrepreneurial mindset is actually probably critical in today's VUCA world being volatile and uncertain, right? And the second mindset I say that is important also is called a crisis-ready mindset. That means you're able to deal with crisis or setback. Yes. Okay. And then you are able to, pick yourself up because, the world is changing so rapidly. And what happened yesterday is not going to happen tomorrow. So how do you cope? How do you educate children, right? Yeah.
And to be very honest, after hearing all those, I really have a lot of questions, right?
Yes.
But before I deep dive into some of these questions, I want to understand your history. How do you come about to doing what you're doing? And furthermore, I mean,
it's because the companies, right, the businesses sound so big.
Right.
So what was the journey?
Yeah.
To go and reach this level?
So I was born in Sri Lanka. And when I was 6 years old, I moved here to join my parents who had moved over to Singapore. My father was a professional chartered engineer and he had gotten a job here. And he moved because Sri Lanka was going through, well, how do I describe it?
A crisis.
A crisis, yes. A crisis in the sense that, I'm a Tamil, Sri Lankan Tamil, and it politically, if I was Tamil, I had to study in Tamil. My parents had grown up studying in English, and they wanted that for their children. So he moved over here, and then, it was difficult because I was the oldest grandchild. I had a lot of attention, a lot of pampering, extended relatives.
And then you had to leave them.
Yes, I had to leave them. But I had 3 other siblings. My youngest sibling was about a year old. But along the way, somehow whenever I went back home for trips, I would always notice that my relatives and our family friends would talk about one particular uncle. Actually, he's a granduncle. And, they'll be whispering. And I knew that, everyone sort of admired him, but they were also sort of jealous. And this uncle was a businessman. The rest of the family members were lawyers, they were engineers, they were doctors, but he was a businessman, right? He had actually gone to the UK to study law and taken the money and done sugar trading and made his million. As a 10-year-old, I was like, when I grow up, I want to be a businessman, right? That was what I wanted to do. 2 things. One was the need because, my pocket money was never enough. And so you're looking at, how do you want to augment your pocket money? And 2 was, the research shows and says that if you are someone who has had to leave a country very young, and grow up in another environment, you tend to become creative anyway.
Yes.
And also, actually, interestingly enough, I was probably in the first cohort of kids who had Montessori training. So I was like 1.5 years old, and my auntie was training. So I was a very curious child growing up. And by the time I got into my teens, I was always looking at how much do they make? If I go to a hawker center, I'm like, the queue is, like 10 people long.
So
right?
multiply how much you going to make per day.
So it's like you're doing these mental,
maths, right?
That's
Math
right.
sum.
That's right. So, but the first entrepreneurial activity I probably did was, giving tuition, side hustle, right? Then it was tea dances. Now, tea dances was a little bit more innovative. innovative. I saw that, discotheques were there, but they were free in the afternoon. I had lots of friends. How about we come in the afternoon and, have a tea dance?
What's a tea dance?
You mean you've never heard of that?
No, I'm not.
Oh, it was really popular in the 80s. Whereby when the discotheques will wait until about 6, 7 at night to open up, right? But between like 1 to 4, they are available, and they'll put the lights on. They'll have a DJ, and you can have some bites.
The whole dance floor.
Yeah, that's right.
Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic, of course, and no one wanted the alcohol anyway, right?
So this is interesting because in the recent times,
Yes.
there's an uptick in trend for coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. So people will jam, they will dance in the day.
They're done at night, but without alcohol.
Right.
Seriously?
And they're drinking
with
coffee.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Yes.
So it probably has some rules in tea dancing.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so those were the afternoon tea dances, right? And then I really wanted to start a business. So I worked for Neptune Orient Lines, and I started to learn how to hire out the ship. And it was, trading. It's almost like trading on the stock market, except you're trading through the traders, the brokers. And but then, I was like, okay, this is challenging. This is really great. But I want to go and do my MBA because then I can start my own business. And I did that. And I came back. And then I became risk averse. Like, how do I do this, right? Oh my God, this is, the numbers say that I shouldn't do this, right? And it took me almost 5 years to unlearn all that. And eventually I started a business with a good friend who was there doing the MBA with me as well. But, that's another thing that I learned along the way. And if you ask me, what do I regret? Don't start a business with your friend unless you're really clear about how you want to exit.
Okay.
Because in our case, we didn't sort that out. And, unfortunately, we are not friends, although I value our friendship.
Okay.
Right.
So amongst all of those, you have many titles, right?
Yes.
Entrepreneur, author, strategist, coach. So which one feels closest to you?
Right.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy building things. And instinctively, I know how to do that. So in all these roles that I play, that's what I provide to the people, like a pathway to the future. Right? And so whether it's a conversation that you have with me or in the podcast or even, with the books or with the company, I'm constantly looking at, okay, so if the future, we want to move into the future, how do we do that?
Right.
What's the next step? Right? What's the next 5 steps? Right? So I'm always looking at that.
But I'm also very curious, what got you inspired to write books?
Oh, this one. So it started off with the big jump into entrepreneurship. And I don't know if you remember, maybe you were not born then, but, it was 2001.
We are born. We definitely born.
Trying to calculate the
We
math.
ain't that young.
Definitely born.
Well, anyway, the Singapore government wanted to encourage entrepreneurship. So they had these 2-day training programs to have people do it. It was subsidized. And, my company must have trained at least about 2,000 people. It was on how to start and run a business.
Okay. Like mechanically or the mindset?
It depended on who you went and got your training from.
Oh, okay.
But but what I did was that I looked at it from a mindset perspective, and then we did a little bit of business planning. You can't do a lot in the 2 days, but I can tell you anecdotally, most people would come, and only 30% wanted to start a business, and they would do their business plan. 30% was like, never, I'm not going to do it. And another 30% is like, oh, maybe if I pay off my loan, my kids are much older, I might consider, right? And because at that time, entrepreneurship was very much opportunistic. If you had the right product, you had the right contact, you would start it. It was never a need for Singaporeans. And in fact, it was an opportunity cost to start a business.
Because at that point of time, we were a society that basically workers, right?
People actually wanted to climb the corporate ladder, and they could get jobs which were very well paying, and if they joined the civil service, it was an iron rice bowl. So who wants to take the opportunity of foregoing all that salary and starting a business and not even having enough money, month to month?
The reason why I asked that, because I think whereas we were researching about you, understanding who you are, right? We realized that you had a company, or rather working for a company, and that company was actually almost heading to an IPO.
Yes, that's right.
Right? It was almost a $12 million listing and all, and something happened.
Yes.
Right? So now I'm very, very curious, okay, what happened to that company?
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. So we are sort of at the cusp of that journey, right? So it was 1998 when I did the first business with my friend, and that didn't work out. And so it was 1996. So that didn't work out. 1998 it had closed. And in 1999, I started this company called Technology Asia. And it's a funny story. I was working for Temasek Poly. It was a part-time job. I'd actually asked for half-time because I had a young baby. And at that time, they had changed the rules to allow that. And my job was to go and meet the professors or the lecturers and ask them, would you like to spin off a company? There is a 5 million grant and we can support you.
Wow.
And believe me, I did like tens and tens of, business plans, and no one was interested. They were like, look, we became a lecturer so that we don't need to deal with the commercial world. We're happy here, right? So then my boss knew that I was having a small business at home. And he said, why don't you write it up, your business, right? Maybe we can look at that. Mm-hmm. So my business was collecting data of people who are using the internet. Mm-hmm. I remember this is 1998, right? So you have the ISPs, internet service providers. So we go to them, we tell them, look, can you send this email out, online survey? And when the responses come, we'll give you a small report. Okay, so when we do this survey from like 15 countries, we'll get 60,000 people. That's a lot of data.
That's a lot of data, it is.
And in that, the many questions that we'll ask people, we'll ask them, do you use Microsoft products, or is it a HP computer? And so obviously now you know who can be my target customers,
audience,
right?
Yeah, it's a profile.
Yes, so I'm actually profiling acceptance, or awareness, acceptance, and adoption of the internet, of online shopping, or what the different things that they want to do. And so anyway, on the eve of my pitch, I'm in my office, someone calls my hand phone. And this person has a foreign accent, and they say, hey, look, I heard that you're doing a report. Is it ready? I said, no, it'll be ready in 3 weeks. She says, how much is it? Now, I'm thinking to myself, this must be my friend playing a fool, because they knew I had a pitch the next morning to the board. So I said, well, $60,000 US. Then she said, yeah, okay, I'd like to buy that. Now, I'm really thinking, who is this person? Right?
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, $60,000 in the 1990s, it's a huge amount of money.
Correct.
Yeah. Back then, right, I think chicken
USD.
rice is only like, what, $2?
Yeah. USD, right?
Yeah. So it ends up, this person is from like one of the top 4 consulting firms, buys the research, right? And I can't, I'm like flabbergasted, right? And I quickly do my invoice, send it off. The next morning, I go in for my pitch and I say, gentlemen, it's a $2 company. I just registered it, X months ago. But my valuation for this
Just
is
went up.
$3 million.
Okay.
Right? And if you want, you can have 10% at $300,000. So they gave me $300,000 cash, and they gave me other related services like rent-free and whatever else.
It's in an incubator.
Yeah, well, it was not in an incubator. It was within their premises. They had labs that we could convert into an office space. So yeah, suddenly I'd raised money, and then soon after, many other people heard about us, and so I raised several $1 million. Within the year, and then started another company called startups.com. That's a great name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And raised some millions of dollars for that. And soon my investors wanted to exit because, why do investors give you money? Because they want to exit. And they did, we were making money. We were a small team. And but the bankers thought that we were too small. So they said, you got some cash reserve. Why don't you go and do a couple of mergers? Right? So did 2 mergers, one with startups.com, which actually ended up starting Singapore's first incubator called iXL.
Wow.
Yes. And we, that was really great because all our data that we collected was then useful in the incubator for those who came for services, right? And they could use that to look at their business plans. And then, within 6 months, we were ready in January of 2001 to list. Prospectus was ready. And I was calling down people. You have to call down people to get them to sign on the board resolution for the
really?
listing. Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Then it's just physical.
Actually, I brought my prospectus along. Later on, I'll show it to
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's an old printout. I was looking at what I wanted to bring along, for this talk. But anyway, this person said, "Yeah, we'll sign, but we want some additional shares." I thought I heard it wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, they repeated it. And I thought, wow, this doesn't happen in Singapore. It can't, right? Because I've grown up all these years. I was in my mid-30s. And it was a very big shock. I sat with it for a few days. And then I just...
Everything agreed, they signed, but they wanted more shares, is it? Yeah.
If you want me to sign.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so I thought, well, I already made the first mistake of, getting all this money when I shouldn't have.
Okay.
Because, we were profitable and we could have grown the company organically. And now, of course, now that I've done that, investors need to go out. But if I'm going to live with this thing again, right, it's like, how do you deal with yourself?
Yeah.
So I said no. And I knew that if I said no, the listing wouldn't happen, and the listing didn't happen. And so we ended up liquidating the company. Yeah. Wow. So from, it's like someone asked me earlier on, it's like from zero to hero to zero.
How do you feel back then when these things happen?
Right. First of all, it was a betrayal of values, right? And your identity about how you perceived your world. And you thought human beings were going to be like, right? So I guess in a lot of ways, my heart was shattered. Right? I'll tell you the story about where I put my heart together.
Oh, yes, please.
But it was really difficult because it's almost like a collective betrayal, right? The system failed you.
And there was like years of hard work, right?
About 2.5 years, right? It was really condensed learning and growth. And that was what, the first wave of .com or even today technology companies offer you, right?
Let me give some context to the audience out there, right? Okay, when you say you collect data, right? And those data, when you were to merge into a report,
yes,
how tedious is it?
Those days, terribly tedious because you had to do it almost manually and you don't have, all the tools that you have today. It was traditional SPSS.
No Power BI,
No.
No Power BI.
No proper Excel,
You had to sit there.
No laptops.
Yeah, no laptops, no ChatGPT to tell you, or AI to tell you, this is the trend, pull out secondary data. No, nothing. So,
you consolidate the data and then you still have to analyze it.
So that's where the value was.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. So what happened after that?
So I was bumming around, moping.
Moping.
No, not really. I couldn't because, what happened was I'd done a series of interviews for the roadshow, IPO roadshow. And one of them was with a magazine called Asia Week. And Asia Week, released the article in July as I was closing down my company saying, Singaporean most influential in Asia. And I'm like, hello, why did this come out now, And all the newspapers are chasing me for a follow-up story.
Yeah.
And I literally had to run home and hide because, how do I deal with this? Nobody is talking about their failures and now I have to do something, right?
Right.
And anyway, my sister at that time said, look, you always wanted to influence people, so you can influence them to be open about their failure. And so why didn't you just talk to the media? And so I had to do that, right? And that actually helped me also to start on the path of looking at what else do I want to do. And so I looked at starting this a program to teach other people about entrepreneurship. But more importantly, I had a call from UNDP in Bangkok, and someone there wanted me to come up to do a project in North Korea. And so I was curious.
Bangkok.
The Bangkok is the regional office.
Okay.
They wanted me to go up there to be interviewed, right? And then they were going to send me off to North Korea to do this project. I was surprised when I met the person there because that person was someone that I'd met in, the community work that I did with credit cooperatives in Singapore. And I used to be part of a Singapore-based credit cooperative called Due Credit Cooperative, a women's organization. And we did microfinancing and regional work. And she said, yeah, I've seen you in conferences and I thought, you might be the best person to do this. So the project brief was, go to North Korea. There's a group of women that they had been mentoring through UNIFEM and UNDP as a cottage industry. So they taught these women how to sew. And then they had like 10 women who were quite good now. And they'd send them to different trade fairs and they'd gotten orders so big that they were subcontracting it out to other North Korean factories with 5,000 workers,
Right.
2,000 workers. So the women were having a lot of orders. So it was time to make them into an enterprise. So my brief was, how can you go and get them to organize themselves, to formalize it into an enterprise? So it was an enterprise development project. Mm-hmm. And so I went to North Korea, maybe made like 10 over trips over 2-3 years, every time about 2-3 weeks. Yeah, and that was...
It's quite tedious to enter anyway, right?
Yeah,
so
yes.
make the trip worthwhile. Stay there for 3 weeks.
That's right. You fly into Beijing and then from there you fly to North Korea. There are only 2 flights every day.
Yeah.
What was amazing was when I went to North Korea, remember my broken heart? I still had a broken heart.
Yeah.
If you had read the newspapers at that time about North Korea, it was all about, they have this electricity shortage and famine, and they're a terrible country and blah, 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 right? Yeah. So then I had to go there and the North Koreans will tell me, Ramesh, seeing is believing. And truly it is, it's when you see, and you would see these beautiful buildings, right? European type of architectures. People are always listening to classical music. They're so orderly. They get up at 4:00 and they're sweeping the streets.
Wow.
Right? They walk hours because their great leader did not believe in them cycling and being disorderly, right? Very disciplined group. And then, yes, there is famine and there is lack of electricity because, we would only be able to work during the daylight hours. And then to keep warm, we will have a stove, which was on and bulgogi was being, grilled. Mm-hmm. And there are 2 or 3 vodka bottles.
Oh, okay. Every meal?
Yes.
Every meal. It's to keep warm. Yeah,
yes.
It's to keep warm.
So you can see, it was hardship, yes, but they made it work. And slowly, right, I saw that, humanity, there is something special about human beings, right? I don't have to let something like what happened to me be the defining moment of my life. And that's how I picked up the pieces and sorted out my heart.
So the glue was vodka.
Huh?
Right, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so maybe we take note, right?
vodka is a glue, yeah.
Glue to a broken heart is vodka.
maybe.
And when you came back from North Korea, and that's where you started off the current companies, or?
So I came back from North Korea. I decided, so I was still doing the training. I had the opportunity to bring in a US-based company which did personal development work. In 2004, started their organization, helped them to ramp it up in Southeast Asia, created their consulting arm here, and businesses in Thailand and Vietnam and different other locations. And then after 10 years with them in 2013, I decided, well, you know what? I've always been an entrepreneur. I want to go back to being an entrepreneur. And so I went and started Talent Leadership Crucible. And so it's about 13 years now. And what I love most, even when I was working with the other organization, was the fact that, I would speak to other founders, other CEOs. And so at that point, I got connected to my own entrepreneurial journey, right? So that's one of the reasons why I was able to stay away for so long, because I always had that opportunity to interact. In 2021, when I was looking at updating my book, The Big Jump into Entrepreneurship, which was then published in 2023 with the update as Big Jump into Entrepreneurship 2.0, I realized something really interesting. When my business failed, I decided never again will I go into tech and never again will I grow a company which required listing. So I made these two nevers.
Okay.
And I had avoided it. Right. And then I was looking at the world, and the world had changed. All this new technology was coming, and I was like going to be 60 soon. So I thought, I better become an angel investor. That's what pivoted me into actively looking at becoming an angel investor and choosing companies which, that I could go in and look at how they were using technology, support them with some of my own journey experience.
So what kind of technology in specific?
Right. So a couple of them, so one is in healthcare, and it's a internet healthcare provider. So they're using technology to look at the back end of the operations for clinic management, looking at robotics for, dispensing medicine out, looking at maybe AI back end to develop the data so that if they can build a database of all the illnesses that people have, then they can support the doctors and treatment. So that's one company. Another company is in the space of optimizing cargo in aeroplanes. So, that's a manual job.
Yes.
Normally, someone will sit there and they'll work out, okay, how much.
How big the
how
box,
big, and how you have to load them up because plane.
Balance the plane.
Exactly,
and all,
right? And now they have a software which can do that within like a minute. Not only that, they can also do optimization, and the airlines now save or make a lot more money, because in the past it was also subject to corruption, because people can, okay, you're my friend, right? It's okay. I just give you, I'll just say it's 20 kilos, but actually it's 200.
Yeah.
But all that doesn't happen. So it's actually a innovation that was funded by the Singapore government, and so that's another company. So they're using tech in a different way to look at that. Then in Vietnam, I invested in this company which is looking at pineapple leaves and making it into a fabric.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at.
But they already do samples of fabric already, right?
Yeah. So they extract all the fabric and then they process it into yarn. And then from there, they sell it to people who are interested in producing, natural fiber dress or shirt or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, your whole journey, it's there's only one word to describe it. It's wow. Right? No one will have such a resume, go to North Korea, everything else that you have done, come out strong. So now I'm hearing your whole life story. I'm actually very curious. When you look back, the whole failure of that startup that didn't happen, right?
Right.
Was it, okay, in your opinion, looking back now, was it really a failure or was it a transformation for you?
I actually, now that I look back, I think it was a transformation, and in some ways, I used to have a personal mantra, and the personal mantra is that failure is a pillar in the house of success, and that's something that my mother always told the four of us. I've got 3 other siblings, right, and so in a lot of ways, growing up, there was permission to fail. Because, it was something that was going to give you success. But if I look back at my life now, even though I've gone through the really difficult periods of time where, I had to deal with being labeled a failure and thinking I was a failure versus I had failed in business, right? Yeah. And it's difficult to extract yourself from that that distinction of I have failed or I'm a failure, right? So I did suffer, right? But the other good thing was that I had a great support structure. My family was very supportive. They didn't undermine me and make me look bad. They were always encouraging, even when I failed. And so I guess, I had enough resilience to deal with it. And that's why I have a book which is not published, but it's about the crisis-ready mindset. And I talk about this.
When are you going to publish that, right?
I've been promising to do that for the last 3 years. Maybe next year.
Next year?
2026.
We'll probably look at it in the bookstore, right? Waiting for it to be out.
Yes.
So my next question here is because I think for you, the period that you are at is actually quite a, how do I put it? Biasness towards gender, right? And for you as a lady going through that whole journey, how was it for you?
Right. So this is a little bit ironical, right? I would have technically faced 2 kinds of biasness, not just being a woman, but also being a non-Chinese, right? But I never experienced it. I never experienced the biasness. There's only one time in my shipping career, but even that I sort of laughed it away. We had these Japanese clients and I was standing next to somebody, my boss, I think. And after he greeted my boss, he greeted me and he said, so how are you? And he referred to my boss's name and Mrs. So-and-so, right?
Oh.
Like a stereotype, right? A woman will only be in a shipping meeting because she's the wife, right? Whatever, right? Yeah. So, but I know that other people have had it hard. And not only from that aspect of biasness, because I was also very active in community work. There was a generation of leaders who were older, like, unionists who were in their 60s or 70s and not giving way to the younger people, I would be in my 30s or 20s, but it was more for, let's say, the men getting the opportunity as well. So I've seen all forms of biases. And I think that's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time in being able to provide people an opportunity to reframe. Look at how an elephant is trained to stand still at a pole, right? Because as a baby, it is chained up, stick, right? Yeah, chained. And then after years, it remains there because it's conditioning. Yeah. But the human race is the only race which doesn't experience that moment. And yet, by listening to news or listening to someone, we make up a story about it. And then we condition ourselves. So that is why I'm in the human potential space, because I feel that, we sometimes limit ourselves through our conditioning. And to me, one of the mission of TLC is to elevate consciousness. And it's really from that basic thing about how, can we reframe? How can we step out of our automatic conditioning? Right?
Yeah. So on that note, if today, a young lady, right, were to walk up to you and say that actually I'm facing, gender discrimination, right, and I want to do a startup and all, what sort of advice would you give her?
Oh, wow. If she wants to start a business with a limiting belief, she's not going to be successful. and I would invite her to be able to start to reframe her beliefs first. So I would invite her probably to come and do our program, the Sustainable Success for Collective Advantage, so that she can switch and she can have the power of altering her own mindset. Look, world happens, right, around us, right? Things are happening. You don't have a say about that. But the only say you have about what's happening is what you tell yourself about it. And I'm a firm believer of that.
There you go, ladies, right? You hear it from the lady herself, right? From a wonderful journey, right? From huge failure to North Korea, right? So this is a very, very good advice for you guys, ladies out there. Don't be, how do I put it? Don't be afraid, right? Don't put yourself down just because you're a lady, right? The world is equal out there, right? Fight for your own rights.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I think in the experience that you have all this while, that's over three decades.
Yes,
over
maybe
3
more,
decades.
actually 4, because I went to poly, and so I started work at 20.
20.
Yeah.
Did each decade, was it different for you? Like, were there any lessons that you learned in each decade, or is defined as just experiences for you?
Right. It's interesting that you asked me this question. No one has asked me that, right? But if I look at it, I think for sure there's been different experiences in each decade. There was, if I can describe it, right, it is 2 things that are happening. One is my own inner world. There is, when I'm growing up, that desire, the ambition, that hurriedness to get things done. And then eventually there's a slowdown, there's an acceptance, there's a readiness to just be. And then externally also, right, there is a need to validate, prove, demonstrate the success. And then after a while, it's like, oh, you take me as I come, right?
Yes.
You don't have to do anything more. So, yes, but if you're asking me to specifically talk about it, I think, in my teens, it was struggling with what do I do post my Malay and not being able to go to university and making the choice to go to Polytechnic instead. And then, resolving for myself the fact that, my peers all went to uni and I didn't, but how am I going to catch up? And I caught up by doing a master's rather than a degree first. So I went to Monash University. Those early setbacks helped me to not just only work hard, but also work smart, to look for, ways to catch up, right? Not in a traditional way. Then in my 20s, it was, okay, now I've got all this, right? How do I make my dream of becoming a business person successful? So in the 30s, it was building that, and then finding that it was not what I wanted, and then finding my heart again. And then in the 40s, it was, 10 years of people development potential work, very busy, seeing, how people can shift. And then also seeing that when people get fixated about improving themselves, because, you want to actually get your insight so that you go out there in the world and you impact the world, not, keep working on yourself, right? And then that was when I saw that, okay, you know what? I want to shift to actually getting people to work on that. So that was all my 50s about. I also had to deal with a health issue where I had a problem with my neck. And so that was painful. And then that's when I went and did my doctorate because I was torturing everyone around me. And they said, okay, please, use your brain here, right? And then 60s, I've just actually become 60. I'm looking forward to it because I think I have freedom of having lived my first 5 cycles as a 60-year-old to do what I want to do next. Yeah.
So I'm curious because you live a very packed life. How do you manage family time or even your own personal time?
Right. So I think I learned very early that there's no such thing as balance. And that's number one. And number two is that my work is my life and my life is my work, right? So luckily for me as an entrepreneur or someone who used to run a business, I had more flexibility in terms of how I worked, right? I could run around at a certain point and I could be very focused early in the morning or late in the night, right? So you have the flexibility as an entrepreneur. And, in the early years as a single mother, I had to have my daughter come along with my parents on my trips. And she will do her stuff and then I'll meet them for meals. So you had to figure out how to make things work, right? It's not clear cut.
So through the experiences that you have and even this particular time management, family management issue, right? So do you see a pattern for people who succeed? And what patterns do you see that makes them successful?
Right.
Yeah.
I think successful people work hard and they work smart. They're highly disciplined. They're very focused. And I think those are some of the things that, successful people have. And they have, lastly, a passion, right? Whatever that they're doing, it's their life. It's not just work. It's not just a project.
So in fact, passion is a very big term that's thrown about. I think many people have different definitions of it.
Yeah.
So from the young is one meaning. I think for the slightly older and the more mature is another meaning. Do you think everyone starts with passion or it develops over time?
Right. So I think passion can start with affinity, or it can even start with, I'm good at this.
So affinity means you kind of like it.
Yes.
You're okay.
Yeah. But I think in Singapore and in developed countries where the measure of success is still, financial,
Finance, the wealth.
we don't engage in what I like. We rather do what we think we're good at, right? Because we don't want to fail. But I think it's okay to do what you like, or at least like what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you don't like what you do, and even if you're good at it, what's the point?
Yes.
Because, this is the journey of life.
Yes.
Right?
So on that note, we talk about the time-wise. What about countries to countries? Because you went through Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, North Korea,
Yes.
Any differences that you see for them towards success?
Yeah, absolutely. I've also spent some time in Myanmar.
Yes, Myanmar as well. Yeah.
That's right. So, and Sri Lanka, where I was born, right? So, let me at least talk about it from the lens of perhaps entrepreneurship and women and families,
Yes,
right?
please.
So, when I look at family ties like Myanmar, Vietnam, it is very strong still, right? They can live together.
The
That
family
means,
unit.
yes, that means the parents and their children and the in-laws and the grandchildren, right? And they make it happen. Then when I look at countries like Thailand and maybe Sri Lanka, they've already sort of started to move away, right? There's a mix, not so close. But when I look at a country like Singapore, it's definitely nuclear families, right? We live on our own. Now, what's been the impact? The impact is that the kinship, the interaction, the way in which we relate to each other is very different. So it's no coincidence. A lot of our clients are in Vietnam, in Myanmar, and maybe to a lesser extent in Thailand. Why? Because they're willing to work out the family issues, even if it means losing my face. They're willing to tell somebody.
Especially in the Asian culture, that
Exactly.
was a big thing.
Yeah. Right? Nobody wants to talk about it
Yes.
here.
Because they want to keep the family unit intact.
Because they don't want to diminish themselves in front of the rest of the family. Although everyone knows that you two have a problem,
Okay.
they don't want to air it and they don't want to deal with it.
Right.
It's uncomfortable. It's a loss of face.
It's very awkward.
Yes, it's awkward. So let's just forget it. Anyway, I come to work and you pay me my salary. That's enough.
Yeah.
We're very practical, right? And maybe it also had to do with the modernization, how we all adopted Western habits and culture, and we think there is a need for privacy, and so we moved away.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that's one piece. When we look at women and how women have participated, Sri Lanka had the first woman prime minister in the world.
Yes.
Right? And at some level, women take part, but there are still very much cultural contexts that keep women separate, away from the decision and power structures. But I think if amongst all these countries that I talked about, Vietnam has got probably the most active women in businesses, right? They lead the way. And they are unapologetic about how they lead. Singapore, we have a large number of women in what I would call as managerial positions, but fewer still at really the apex structure. Right? And finally, in terms of entrepreneurship, I guess if you look at pure entrepreneurial acumen, then it's the Vietnam, number one. In Myanmar, they're satisfied, so they're not really entrepreneurial. In Thailand, it's there, but I would just look at Vietnam as where entrepreneurship for both men and women is being driven.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So why do you say that Vietnam is actually top in terms of entrepreneur? Is it because...
Yeah. They showed signs of this as early as 2008 when I first went there to work, although my first trip there was in 1998. Maybe it's partly due to their own heritage of having the wars and Doi Moi, which is like the opening of the economy. So perhaps, there is a sense of having lost out, right? But whatever that is, you do find that globally, they're probably the most entrepreneurial.
Yeah. So it sounds like, those countries that are less comfortable, right? They tend to be a little bit more entrepreneur.
Yes.
Countries that are way more comfortable, lifestyles are way better, they tend to go easy on themselves, and that's where the entrepreneur spirit deeps in a sense.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Dr. Ramesh, we have a next segment, right, that I will probably introduce you in, right?
Okay.
So let's hold on, right, for our next segment. All right, so welcome back to our Enzo segment, right? So those who have watched our show before, right, you have known that this segment, right, we will actually dish out a deck of cards, right, to our guests. And in that deck of cards, there are different questions where our guests will choose to answer. And they will actually give us a little insight of their journey itself. So, Dr. Ramesh, let me put this out here.
Okay.
All right. There are sets of 13 cards. The mic can't catch me for sure.
Yes.
Right.
You can choose.
And probably let you choose two of it.
Yeah, just any two.
Any two. First one there. And that one there. Yeah. All right, let me keep the rest of the card.
Okay.
You can flip it over and
you can flip it over
read.
and you can read the questions. Right. So prior before this, as I was taking out the cards, Dr. Ramesh asked me, is this like a tarot cards?
Tarot cards.
Almost, if you can get them to answer their life journey. Yeah.
If you get enough from that answer, you probably can predict your own future too.
Yeah. So it says, what initiatives have you started to give back to your community or industry?
Nice. Very relevant to...
That's right. Right. It's a range of things with angel investing, helping young entrepreneurs to start off, validate their ideas, mentoring. Even the podcast is to let people, get to know from other people about a slice of life and what they can learn. But more importantly, we're also looking at how to have more people get a better sense of how they can cope in a fastly changing world. And so I'm looking at, how we can set up a social fund and have them go through a program perhaps, and then mentor them through that to the next stage.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And the second question.
Oh. How did you adapt to changes in your industry or market? Well, it's driven internally with a sense of there's a need to change, right? So it's almost like an intuition. And I know that when I shift, I'm always ahead of the curve. I need to remember to trust my intuition, not to get lazy or to think that, just because others have not shifted, I should just stay put.
Right.
Yeah.
Is to continuously progress and develop.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's our Enzo segment, right? And we'll go back to our main segment in a short while. So welcome back, right, with our main segment with Dr. Ramesh.
So after everything they've gone through, what does success actually mean to you at this point? Yeah.
I think success to me is about being in the flow, and that means being able to deal with a failure or the success the same way. Sure, you can celebrate. Sure, you can cry, but get on with it, because it's just a journey. So life is a journey. It's not a destination. And if we can own that and accept that, I think we'll enjoy it.
So we have many of our young viewers out there,
Yes.
right? And I think for you to gone through, so many years of experience, what's the one thing that you think a young person should learn and a young person should unlearn?
Right. So I have a 30-year-old daughter, and I've got nephews who are in their early 20s. And when I look at them and what I wish for them, right, I think it's important to know the difference between what's going to make you a good person and what's just there as a distraction. And so spend some time to know yourself, right, and your values, and don't be ashamed to follow your North Star. So that's one.
So how does a young person understand what a North Star is?
Right.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion.
Yeah. So generally, right, we discover our purpose or our North Star sometimes through hard knocks in life, because you're really at the rock bottom and you got to, pull yourself up, and you discover, right, what's important and what's not. And it's like you peeled away all the things that, were distraction.
Yeah.
And then there are also facilitated programs that you can go to. And there are many personal development programs where you can go and discover your purpose. And that's something important. And the third way in which you can also discover your purpose is maybe engage in a meditation practice. Right? When my daughter turned 21, I invited her to go and try the 12-day silent meditation Vipassana.
Wow.
Right? And, just at least do something which is different and engage yourself, so that even if you do it once, right, but it allows you to internalize and connect with yourself in a different way.
So what did she get out of that?
I think for her, she found it useful to let go of a lot of issues that she had coming from a single parent home. And I think she had lost her grandfather just before that. So that was important to be able to contextualize it and to see that these are just passing phases.
Right.
Like the emotion comes up and it goes down, and that's all. Right? And to be able to manage, as she says, her sankharas. And, some of us actually need to learn this from maybe a more cognitive process.
Right.
Some of us can go in and do it in an experiential way. So, it's okay, experiment. But spend the time, just as much as we spend the time engaging in digital tools and news, to also connect to ourselves and to ponder about what is this life about.
So I'm actually very curious, because do you think North Stars come from experiences or like internal manifestations?
Right. Okay. So if you look back right now, you would see a pattern, right, of the things that you have done, and there is like you gravitate towards this versus that, right? So in some ways, we could say that if you had awareness of it as your purpose early in life, then what it becomes is that it becomes like the directional sign to guide you, so that you can make daily trade-offs, between this and that. Oh, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? Is it consistent with what I want?
Who you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But if you don't discover it, which is okay too, right? It's okay. It's perfect whenever you discover it, right? But if, let's say, you discover it later, then yeah, you would have seen, oh, I did some things which were not really what I wanted to do, right? So North Star is like a signpost, a direction. It pulls you to the future, to what is important to you.
Okay.
So, Dr. Ramesh, I've been holding back this question since the very start of this recording, right? So my question is, if, let's say, because you are an angel investor, as you mentioned, right? And many people out there are probably curious, right? That what does an angel investor look out for, right? So let me put it in simpler terms. Today, if let's say someone were to pitch a business to you, an idea to you, what are the key things that you're looking out for?
It's funny, right? But I'll tell you, I bet on the person, not on the idea.
Why?
Because, it doesn't matter what the idea is. That's your entry point. Business is not going to go that way. Are you someone who's flexible? Are you someone who's open? Are you someone who's disciplined? Can you, keep pivoting, working on it and deliver? Do you take feedback? Are you willing to learn, unlearn, right? And so ultimately, a business happens because of that founder or the co-founders working together. And that's what you're investing in. Ideas, there are so many. Implementation is the key.
Yeah, okay.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, right? I've asked the question for you to an angel investor. This is what you're looking out for. It's you.
That's right.
So in this, in your experience and position now, what do you think excites you about Asia's next generation?
All right. Yes, I'm very passionate about that because I think true change is going to happen with the next gen. But it's also important that we nurture and nudge and transition the next gen into a new way of thinking rather than the default thinking.
And the default thinking being?
The default thinking is, we want to make money. Finance is the only way of measure. Don't bother about the true impact of how we do business. Not paying attention to relationships until it's too late. But asking the hard questions of, if this is that only one lifetime that we have, what do we want to leave at the end of it for the next generation? How can we be better stewards? If we are wealthy families, what are we doing about nurturing the ecosystem that is providing the wealth to us? Maybe in one generation, the wealth is gone. What social capital did you build as a family, as your legacy? Right.
So, Dr. Ramesh, right? Every single guest that sat on that chair, I will actually ask one particular same question to all of them, which is, if there is one word that you actually give out to all inspiring young entrepreneurs out there, what would that one word be and why?
Okay. I have 3 words and I borrow it from Nike. It's just do it.
Okay.
Why? Why?
You'll never know. It's like, why not?
There you go. It's like, why not? Just do it, right?
I think it also reflects in her book.
Yeah.
It's titled The Big Jump.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you really just need to jump. You just need to do it, right?
Yeah, take the leap of faith and just go with it, right? You never know what comes to you, good or bad.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Dr. Ramesh, before we end the whole show, right, I would like to put your focus over to this camera, right? And probably if, let's say, you want to leave any messages to any young entrepreneurs out there, what are your final words that you would like to say to them?
So,
final advice.
My final message is trust yourself. It's okay to fail because, after all, failure is the pillar in your house of success. Just enjoy life and have fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Ramesh.
Thank you.
Dr. Ramesh, thank you for your honesty, your wisdom, and your no-nonsense truth bombs. Today's conversation wasn't just a story, It was a masterclass in resilience, reinvention, and what it truly means to rise again. She reminds us that life doesn't move in straight lines, it moves in jumps. The big jump.
To everyone out there listening, if you're feeling lost, pressured, confused, or overwhelmed, let this episode be your reminder that your path is not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be yours. Build your resourcefulness, build your courage, build your next jump. Hi guys, thank you for listening. If you like what you have just heard, follow us for more content like this.